president to put everybody in the picture that President Obama painted in the future so we can all rise together. The most important thing. You just think about it. Everybody in this crowd that's got a good job with health insurance, allows you to provide for retirement, allows you to help your kids. Every one of you, you know, if every single American had that, all of our other problems would be small.
Yes.
And you know, when you don't have good jobs, rising incomes, more new businesses forming, then all of our other problems get worse.
That's right.
And I'll just give you an example where I think we can work with our Republican friends on it. This horrible epidemic of prescription drugs and heroin that is sweeping across the
Yes.
The good news is the United States Senate, thank you, Senator Donnelly, voted 94-1 to treat this like a public health problem. We don't have time in this election season to give it, but Hillary was the first candidate who said, this is a public health problem. This is not a criminal problem. We need more mental health, more children. But the number one state in America in the percentage of people addicted is West Virginia. Now this is an equal opportunity killer we were talking about on the car coming in here. Last week, he talked to me to talk. 2 weeks ago. I called the fifth parent who was a close friend of Hillary's and mine, who had lost a child. Three of them since the week before Christmas. Just people I know. So it's everybody. But the number one state for addiction is West Virginia, which has the second weakest economy, where people living in Appalachia think nobody's done anything for them for 30 years. And all I'm saying is, if you got something to look forward to when you get up in the morning, it's a lot easier to turn away from destructive behavior and temptation. So Hillary said, okay, let's spend $10 billion on this public health problem. Let's spend more to give people big incentives to invest in areas with high poverty rates, high unemployment rates, long-term lack of jobs, so we can all rise together. Another big barrier is there are too many young people who have been put in jail for too long for nonviolent offenses. And if they were released and could enter the workforce, they could help us grow together. So she was also, as nearly as I can determine, the first person who said, I'll make this a priority. There are too many people who are wasting their productivity, costing you something like $85,000 or $90,000 a year as taxpayers. You could send them to any college in Indiana for a fraction of that. And if they are nonviolent offenders at low risk of repeating, we should consider letting them out early so they don't waste their lives. But you don't want them to come back, so they have to have education, training, job placement, and no discrimination in applying for a job. So they can all rise together. The other thing I would say is, we were always in the top 10 countries in the world in participation of women in the workforce. And we're not anymore. And that's one reason wages haven't risen, because we got our jobs back in 7 years, which is quick by historical standards, but we haven't gotten the wages up. And part of it is we need to get more women back in the workforce, but we are one of only 7 nations, 7 on the face of the earth, that don't give families any paid leave time to deal with problems with their parents or their spouses. And she wants to do that. And if you had that, an affordable child care and equal pay, then we'd have an economy where we could all rise together. So the first thing is, I think you ought to vote for it because you got the best comprehensive plan to create jobs, raise wages, reduce inequality, and remove barriers to all rising together, including a plan for debt-free college and a plan to let people manage this enormous college debt that's been built up
Yes.
by converting the debt, no matter how much they owe, into a home mortgage-like instrument.
Nice.
And being able to pay it out over 20 years, never more than 10% of their after-tax income. And first, let everybody refinance it. It's crazy that a college
Yes.
debt is the only debt
Yes.
in America you cannot refinance.
Yes.
There are young people in this country today paying college debt off
Yep.
at 8 or 9% interest,
Or more.
and or more. And I met a woman just week before last. I was home and I went to buy a pair of jeans from a lady I've been doing business with for years, and her son just graduated from one of our state schools in New York. And I said, "Does your son have any college debt?" She said, "Yeah, quite a bit." "What's the interest rate?" 9%. "Do you still have a home mortgage?" She said, "I do." I said, "Did you refinance it?" She said, "Of course I did." "What's your interest rate?" "Under 4.
Wow.
This is crazy.
That's what
Yes.
A home mortgage is allowed over 20, 30 years because it's a lifetime asset. It's no more a lifetime asset than an education is.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the average debt is about $24,000. If you went to medical school or something, it's higher, but that's the average debt.
2 master degrees.
So Hillary said you got 2 choices under her plan. 20 years to pay it off, never more than 10% of your after-tax income. If you don't have it paid off in 20 years, the rest is forgiven. If you want to get rid of it now, you can earn $23,000 tax-free by going into AmeriCorps for 2 years and doing any kind of public service work.
Oh,
And just go into the bill. But look, the main thing is, that I think is important, is that she wants to raise the minimum wage, but she wants everybody to make way more than that. So the best way the government can do that is to accelerate the return of new manufacturing jobs to America. When she ran in Ohio, not very far from here, also an emerging new manufacturing center. She won by twice what everybody thought she could.
All right.
Because they knew she was a co-founder of the Manufacturing Caucus. They knew she had worked as Secretary of State and a senator to promote manufacturing jobs and to protect them from unfair competition. And they knew that this election is about the future, but that your past performance is a pretty good indication of future leadership.
That's right.
So she knows we got to do that, but don't forget there's some other things we can do to make a lot of jobs.
Repeal NAFTA.
Well, I don't. Let's talk about the carrier deal. You want to?
Yeah. Yeah, talk about it.
Okay.
Enlighten
You
us.
may blame them. I don't have to enlighten you. All you got to do is read the article on the board meeting that Carrier had about this decision. The first article came out in the New York Times. And this is what I think the big problem with inequality is today. I do think, by the way, we need more. You didn't have as much loss when I was there because I enforced those things 80% more than President Bush did. But I do think these trade deals, one of the things we've learned that the auto workers learned in the Korean trade deal is that you can't make a trade deal unless it includes people who don't keep the deal or manipulate the currency. You've got to do that. On the other hand, Indiana is exporting cars to China. That very few people are doing that. So you got to have some kind of a rules of the road that are fair to everybody if you want to keep those jobs too. But here's what happened in the Carrier case. In my opinion, I talked to Senator Donnelly, who's done a lot of work for you on this and should be proud of it. They announced, according to this article, interviewing people in the board meeting, that their shareholders, which really means they're big, rich, activist shareholders, were disappointed that they didn't have a high enough stock price. And because of that, the president wasn't going to give his whole bonus. He made several $1 million last year.
Crimea River.
Now keep in mind, Carrier made $2.9 billion. Okay? They say they're going to save $65 million by moving this operation to Mexico. Wait. Where they have been, sir, since 1969, 24 years before NAFTA took effect. But anyway, here's the problem. Maybe they will because labor's so cheap. But they were making $2.9 billion. 65 million is a tiny fraction of their profit. And you can offer to negotiate with them savings that would equal that or get very close to it. Hillary wants to give companies a 15% tax break if they share profits with their employees fairly. That means they come out ahead if they do that. And this is the main problem today. More than the big banks. The big banks now can't break Main Street again because of the Dodd-Frank bill the president signed. And that's why Hillary wanted New York so big, because they know there are 50 or 60,000 fewer people on Wall Street today than they were the day of the crash. New York's growing with old-fashioned jobs now. New businesses, new entrepreneurs, young high-tech people, manufacturing jobs coming back to New York. So here's what the problem is. Until about, 30 years ago, this movement started to give shareholders precedence over workers, communities, customers. Before then, we all were taught, like somebody like me that went to law school 40 years ago, we were taught that corporations are not people, no matter what citizens of the United States. We were taught that corporations are created by government, given certain privileges, and they owe something in return. Chief of which is more or less equal allegiance to their customers, their employees, their communities, and the shareholders. And believe it or not, you could fill this vast room with the studies that show that companies that produce a profit for their shareholders over a 3 to 7 year period make more money over the long run than companies that have to show up and please the shareholders every year.
Okay.
Because you got a hedge fund or a billionaire that wants to get their money back in a year and a day and get the capital gains. So Hillary says, give them a tax credit if they share profits, and don't give the whole capital gains tax in a year and a day. If the companies are going to be profitable over 5 years, let the thing go down over 5 years, and don't reward people for pressuring companies to stick it to their workers, stick it to the communities, and frankly, often, I could give you examples where they stuck it to the customers, just so they could get their money back in a year and a day. Now that is the fundamental problem driving a lot of the inequality today.
Yes.
And
I agree with that. I'll agree with that.
I hope that we can have an honest conversation all over America about it. Because this is another thing. I can't believe that we can't reach an agreement across party lines, racial lines, regional lines, everywhere else. It is crazy to let the finance tail wag the economic dog.
Yeah.
People will get a reasonable rate of return on their investment. And if not, they ought to have the freedom to sell their stock. A lot of you have retirement in it. But it is crazy to set this up so that after all the work done here by those 2,400 people in Indiana, after they're producing, as Joe Donnelly told me today, higher profit margins this year than they had last year,
Yep.
for about 2.5% of the total profits of the company, they're going to throw them under the bus. You don't have to have that. We need a whole different system of carrots and sticks.
Absolutely.
We need to reward the companies that take care of their employees.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to reward the ones that give college stuff.
Like
Yeah.
Reward the
Steel
ones
Dynamics.
that have profit sharing
Yeah.
plans for their employees. Reward the ones that believe their communities are important.
Yeah.
So, Hillary agrees with you. There should be some changes in our trade policy. But the number one problem with this inequality today is represented by the reasons the carrier people themselves gave for what they did.
Yes.
Their shareholders wanted more money, and their presidents paid by how happy the shareholders are. I think the greatest companies in America say our customers, our employees, and our communities are the most important thing, and the rest of us are along for the ride. We're supposed to make it possible for them to succeed. And so, look, this whole election comes down to this. Do you believe if we do the right things, we can all rise together again the way we did now? When I was president, we tried to grow this economy from the middle out and the bottom up. Every family income and every racial and ethnic group rose. And the highest gains were in the people who started out on the lowest rungs. But guess what? Nobody else was mad because we were all rising together. And we had all this tension between immigrants and racial minorities and all this stuff because we were all rising together. That's right. That's what we have to do again. And I think you got the best idea. I just want to say two other things real quick. Evan and Joe were kind enough to say some nice things about Hillary's work as Secretary of State. The reason you should care about that is, if you read the paper today, you see America's growth slowed a little bit in the last 3 months because everybody's broke around the world. And it'll drag us down. So it's very important that the next president understand from the get-go that you have to keep big bad things from happening, both in terms of keeping us safe and also keeping our economy going. And then try to make as much good happen as you can so that troubles overseas don't sink us at home. And I'm not just talking about ISIS. I mean, look at all the problems with Russia on the Ukrainian border and the problems with whether the European Union is going to break up. And poor Brazil can't sell a lot of its normal crops and other products because of the troubles in China and their pressure and their small Southeast Asian neighbors. I'm not trying to bore you with all this. I'm just telling you whether you care about them or not. It could affect America's economic recovery. So if you want to be in a position where you don't have to think about it every day, you better get you a president who understands it from the get-go and will take care of it for you. And the last thing I would say is, we've got to break the partisan gridlock in Washington, and she's good at it. That's all I can tell you. She's good at it. I know they're being mean to her now, but that's because they don't want to run. She's good at it. When I went to Washington as president, and we tried to pass the health care bill, and we failed, she immediately went to work with Senator Kennedy and other people to pass the Children's Health Insurance Program. And they put it in the I put it in the balanced budget bill. 3/4 of the Republicans voted for it. It's a big part of Obamacare. There are 8.4 million kids in that program today. And when Hillary won in New York, there's a single mother who did not lose her job when her child got sick because the child was in the Children's Health Insurance Program. So the child lived and the family thrived. And she got 75% of the vote there.
Nice.
We all did, because it was in the balanced budget bill. Then she got the leader of the Republican caucus, Tom DeLay, who really didn't like me. To co-sponsor with her a bill to do something about adoptions. Because she knew he was an adopted parent. She said, I know you think we don't agree on anything, but I honor you for adopting those children. Then she got his attention. He said, she said, Congressman, foster care roles are exploding in America.
Yes.
People are reluctant to adopt non-infant children because they're afraid they can't have a positive influence on them.
There's no
If they're
structure.
middle-class people, they're reluctant to adopt children with special needs.
Amen.
They're afraid they'll fail and be bankrupted.
We're running out of foster
And
homes right here in Fort Wayne.
I'm one of
It's
them.
a terrible problem. We can't let it happen.
Special needs.
Because if they age out of foster care and there's no support for housing, no transition assistance, no training, no
Right.
education, no job placement.
They need to love their job.
thrown in. And you're no different from the children you adopted.
Nope.
That's
So
right.
for the first time in his life, I think almost delayed, he prided himself on being, one of these anti-government people said, what are we going to do? And Hillary said, well, come on, you're a conservative Republican. I know what you guys like. You like tax cuts. Let's give a whopping tax credit to working families that will adopt non-infant children.
Wow.
And let's give a bigger one if they'll take children with special needs. And then you have to be willing to spend some money to support people with special needs kids. And to support these kids, we can't stop from aging out. And here's what happened. That bill flew through Congress like a hot knife
I
through
bet
butter.
it did.
All I had to do was sign it. By the time I left office, there was an 80% increase in the adoption of children out of
Yeah.
Yes.
something good happen.
Yeah.
And when she was a senator for New York and 9/11 happened, right after she took the oath of office, she had to raise a lot of money so New York could start again, and she had to raise a lot of money for the firefighters and the police officers and the other first and second responders that she knew, everybody knew, were going to get sick for what they breathed in those awful days after 9/11. And she did it. She got a lot of Republican support. She got Republican support for helping family farmers and small manufacturers.
But they were saying.
As the first member of the Armed Services Committee from New York ever in the Senate, she worked with John McCain, Lindsey Graham, all these Republicans to guarantee that guardsmen and reservists from Indiana and elsewhere who fought in Afghanistan and Iraq got the same health care regular veterans did when they got home.
All
And
right,
the people that
yeah.
had traumatic brain
Amen.
injuries and post-traumatic stress syndrome were taken care of. And they all did it together. This matters.
Recently, where the Republicans were.
And as Secretary of State, the Republicans loved her and helped her when she got those sanctions
We had
on
the chance to
Iran.
get him in
On
there.
Iran. When she made a deal with Mr. Putin's Russia, the only thing that survives our attempt to get along with it, which reduces the threat of accidental or intentional nuclear war. And you ought to be glad about that.
That's right.
In this dangerous world, it took 67 votes in the Senate. She got them.
All right.
And they liked it when she brokered a deal to end the shooting war between Israel and Hamas and Gaza. And I could give you lots of other examples, always with Republican support. But she believes that you have to have inclusive economics, inclusive politics, and inclusive social policies if you want us to go forward together.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's right.
And I just want to say two other things about that. In addition to the things I mentioned, when President Obama asked her to be Secretary of State, he said, Mr. President, I'll do it if you will do something for me. And they were just kind of feeling each other out. And he said, well, what do you want me to do? She said, I want you to give me 2 or 3 of those tech geniuses you used to beat me in the primary. Because I believe we are going to have to fight this battle over
yeah.
terror in the brains of more than 1 billion people worldwide. We got to win it over social media.
Yeah.
And just
right.
last week,
That is
Yeah.
I noticed the former NATO commander was on television saying, we're not going to kill our way out of this problem.
No.
Yeah.
We need a defense. We now be able to use it. We need diplomacy. We got to make a world with more partners and fewer enemies.
Right. Yeah.
So she was the first candidate in either party in this race to say it is tempting to be afraid and to blame all Muslims for this, but it's a terrible mistake. We need every moderate, terror-hating,
Yes.
freedom-loving Muslim in the United
Yep.
States to help us win this battle. This is the last point. And both Evan and Joe reminded me I forgot to mention at the last stop. The trick for a president, if you want to break the logjam, is knowing when to stand your ground and when to keep the door open for common ground.
That's right.
The most important stand your ground issue we're facing today is the appointment of a new justice of the Supreme Court.
Yeah. That's a hot mess.
It's very important.
That pisses me off.
Supreme Court that once again reflects certain very basic values.
Yes.
For example, I'm a Southerner. It broke my heart and made me physically ill when the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act. Because I knew it was fixing to happen.
Right.
And it has happened. Where they've been, all over this country.
I love it.
And not just in the South, in Arizona, which is covered by the Voting Rights Act, where Hillary won anyway, in spite of this, but in the primary, but they had one voting place for every 2,100 voters. That's reasonable in the primary. Except in Maricopa County, Phoenix, the biggest county, they had one for every 20,000. I couldn't make this up. And the Secretary of State of the other party said, well, he's sorry that people had to wait so long in line, but that was their decision. They could have gone home. In North Carolina, one of the Republican legislators